talk about excuses a lot on this show, I think, right? And we kind of take a hardline stance because really at the end of the day, they don't matter. Right. But I kind of wanted to take an approach today on some of the excuses we have because they're super valid.
Yeah, they're super valid. And I think we're going to bring this back to mindset. So we're, 30 seconds in? Buckle up. It's going back there at some point anyway. I know that we talk about it a ton. But we have talked about this so many times in so many different regards, but it keeps kind of showing its face in different ways. And I think that will probably bring up some scenarios that have happened in our world recently that have been really eye-opening even to me. I mean, leading team meetings and coaching people every day and pouring into people, I learn just as much as I teach because I think that you learn as a coach so much because you sort of have your own mindset and your own way of thinking and doing things and all that type of stuff.
Yep.
But then when you're charged with helping others through their problems, which are maybe things you've never dealt with before, you start to learn a whole lot about what other people are dealing with, what their struggles are, and then the excuses they make, right? And valid excuses as well, but just because an excuse is valid doesn't mean that it's got to disrupt you, doesn't mean that it's got to hold you back, doesn't mean that it's got to be the obstacle that makes you quit or that keeps you down, or anything like that. So I think that it's an eye-opening experience being on that mentorship and leadership journey, and I'm learning more and more every day about kind of the challenges that people go through and how we can overcome them. So I think that we've got a lot of examples we can talk about today that'll be really, really relative to the different people in our audience.
I had my coaching call for Project U today with Adam, and we were kind of talking about this, and he brought up something about, he called it shoulder day, right? And it's just whether it's shoulder day at the gym, which really sucks, or it's just the weight of everything is on your shoulders, whatever it is, if you're in a position of leadership, man, people are going to look to you in the hard times.
Yep.
And we should really be thankful for that, right? When you're going through something in life and it is absolute chaos and you're stripped down to just survival mode type stuff, you retreat to the safest places, the safest people, right? So if people are coming to you in those moments and they're coming to you with their biggest problems, and they're coming to you with the really hard, nitty-gritty, dirty stuff they probably wouldn't share with some other people, that's a sign that they look at you as the type of person who gets shit done and can handle stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's stressful. For me, I don't personally default to high-stress situations very well. I tend to get frazzled. We had it happen today, right? But to have people come to you when they don't know what to do, it's the natural progression of leadership. And I'm learning it at a very, very beginner level stage, right? But it's kind of a cool experience to be looked upon that way. It also forces you to become a little bit better of a listener and understanding what some people's problems are that may not be a problem for you, but it's real for them.
It 100% is real. And I'll give you kind of an example just from our team meeting yesterday, right? Just something that I've sort of learned on my journey, going back to people sort of defaulting to their safest place. I have gotten, and you know this, and for our listeners to kind of catch up to speed, I've pretty much gotten rid of all the inspirational bullshit in our office, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's by design, right? And that's not to say that there's no place for that stuff or anything like that. It's just the methodology behind it, behind taking down a lot of the inspirational posters, behind, getting rid of a lot of the hype stuff and a lot of the rah-rah and the pump-up stuff, is that it's really, really, really easy to get real hyped up and get real pumped and be real positive when either you're in a neutral state where nothing's happened at all yet, or when you're already in a positive state, right? When you have a win, it's really easy to stay positive, right? Because things are going well. On payday, on closing day, it's real easy to be positive when you see, 5 figures in your bank account that got put in there, right? It's such a duality between that and your lowest times, right? When you're in your lowest times, or when things are going wrong, or when you didn't get that appointment or that listing or whatever, or that client fired you, or that deal went south and they terminated, or this or that, it's really hard to default back to that picture of the dude looking over the mountains and it's like, go after your vision, or whatever it is.
Perseverance.
Yeah, 100%, right? Because there's no real substance in that, right? The substance is that is somewhere, and there's some undertone of it, but it's not there on the surface, right? It takes a little bit of mental work to be able to see some inspirational stuff and still be inspired when things are going wrong. What I want to do from day one, I want people to come onto our team. I want them to know that this is going to be a grind at the beginning. Maybe not even at the beginning. It's probably going to be a grind all the way through.
6 years in.
Yeah, but you're going to be grinding for bigger and better stuff, right? Yeah. You've got to embrace the hard times. You've got to embrace the failure. And when your excuses are valid, you've got to embrace that doesn't make them it doesn't make the reality of the situation any less real, right? And so from our team meeting yesterday, we talk about, we did gratitude first, like we always do. I said, what are you thankful for today? We all went around the room. We talked about, we had some great, wins and stuff like that. And I said, fantastic. Now that that's out of the way, I want to know what's the worst thing that happened to you last week. Mm-hmm. What's your biggest failure last week, right? Tell me your darkest stuff. Tell me what went wrong, right? And we use that as a method because everybody went around the room and one person said, I didn't follow up with somebody and a $500,000 listing got away from me because when I called, they said I hadn't heard from you. And so I went with a different agent, right? Yep. Another person said, I didn't get a listing because, I felt like she got squeamish a little bit whenever I tried to really play hardball with the paperwork, right? I thought the appointment was going really well. When I tried to close her for paperwork, she got kind of weird about it. I should have just either left him there or, said, that's fine, let's follow up or whatever. And I pushed it a little too hard and she ghosted me. And now, she's going with somebody else, right? That was my biggest failure in the week. And we went around the room just like that. And I said, fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I said, now somebody tell me the commonality between all of these failures, right? And these are things that affect people's lives that they're pretty emotionally torn up about, right? That's money that could have been in their pocket that's never going to be in their pocket now, right? And people started throwing out, different buzzwords and different things or whatever. And I said, here's the thing. Every single failure that you guys just listed right there was an opportunity that you also created out of your hard work, right? Like, you didn't follow up with a guy and you lost a listing. Well, you created that lead in the first place by lead generating, right?
Yeah.
Right? You missed out on a listing because you were playing too much hardball with the paperwork and you weren't able to close her and you lost the listing. You got that appointment because you picked up the phone and started making some damn calls, right? So here's the thing. You can let this crush you and you can make that an excuse like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have the tools or I don't have the right, skills or talent or whatever. Or you can see the opportunity to go, you know what? I did the hardest part. I created that opportunity. Now I have the opportunity to utilize, to get myself skilled up, to listen to my coaches, listen to my leaders, listen to my guides, and go out and do the exact same thing and create that opportunity and close it this time. We have this mindset that this is just like a one-off process, that if you just lead generate, things are going to happen. And that's true to an extent, but they're only going to happen if you take your failures and move forward, right? And if you just let every failure get you down and use that as an excuse to quit or an excuse to not lead generate the next day or an excuse to just, curl up in your little ball and feel sorry for yourself, that's entirely valid. Mm-hmm. It is really emotionally distressing to lose out on stuff like that. But it doesn't make the reality change at all. The reality is you're stressing over something that you created by your hard work, right? So it's not a one-off thing. You got to lead generate, and then you've got to get skilled up and close them, right? And that's a process. But you've got to be, dude, nobody's going to sit there and create a freaking inspirational poster that's like, go out and set appointments and you'll probably fail a lot still, right? Yeah. Like, that's not fun to watch, but that is the reality. It's just how you want to shape your mindset around it. Do you want to revel in the fact and have a small win that you did the work to get the appointment, or you want to only focus on the bad shit that happened so it stops you from moving forward?
We're